Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I'm kicking off the first video of a long series. We're diving into the Sumerian tablets, and this is just the beginning of a 14-part series that I'm really excited to share with you. I'll be doing my best to bring you the most accurate and engaging content possible throughout this journey. Before we get started, I want to wish you all an enjoyable watch. The Sumerian tablets are a subject that reaches deep into history and carries a lot of complexity. For this series, I've drawn heavily from the works of one of the most prominent scholars in this field, Muazzez Limi. I've also used Zakaria Sitchin's research, as he dedicated his entire life to studying and writing about these tablets. The Sumerian tablets are written in Sumerian, and we've been able to decode this language thanks to Akkadian. The reason for this is that we've learned Sumerian through Akkadian. Some of these tablets are dual-sided, with one side written in Akkadian and the other in Sumerian. Many of these tablets have been well preserved, digitized, and are available for viewing on museum websites today. Experts fluent in Akkadian have deciphered the Sumerian language and helped us understand what's written on these tablets. While the first tablet might seem to describe fairly ordinary events, the content of the later tablets becomes quite surprising, even mind-boggling. They may even challenge some of our deeply held beliefs. Just think about it: how many people in the world today can read and understand Sumerian? Maybe 10,000, or perhaps more. Here's a quick note. If you're interested in learning Sumerian and its grammar, there are books and YouTube channels available. With enough time and dedication, you could learn this ancient language yourself. But here's a key question: how accurate is the information written on these tablets? The translation I'm sharing with you today, how trustworthy is it? Is what I'm telling you real, or is it fabricated? Were these writings created to guide or manipulate people, or do they reflect true historical events? We may never know for certain. However, there are experts worldwide who have decoded these tablets, and Muazzez Limi is one of the foremost scholars in this field. Whether or not they are real is something you'll have to decide for yourself. If these tablets have not been altered, and what I'm sharing with you is accurate, then we may need to rethink everything we know about history. The Sumerian tablets vary in size. Some are as big as a human, while others are as small as a matchbox. There are around 70,000 tablets, and many of them have been translated. If all the findings from these translations were fully revealed, they could potentially shake the foundations of many of our core values. In conclusion, whether these tablets are genuine or not is up to you to decide. If what I'm sharing is true, we might have to re-examine history as we know it. Now, we are about to meet a planet from ancient times known as Nibiru. Was a large, red glowing planet with an extremely long orbit around the Sun. When it moved far away from the Sun, it would freeze, and as it came closer, it would be faced with scorching heat. According to the tablets, Nibiru was surrounded by volcanoes that constantly fed its atmosphere. This atmosphere was the key to sustaining life on the planet. If the atmosphere were to disappear, death would be inevitable. During the cold periods, the atmosphere kept the planet warm, and when it got closer to the Sun, it protected them from the intense heat. The atmosphere did more than just provide protection. It also retained rain, which allowed lakes, rivers, and vegetation to thrive. The land and waters were filled with all kinds of life. However, this peace didn't last. Over time, the people of Nibiru multiplied and spread across the entire planet. There were those who tilled the land, those who herded animals, and others who lived in the mountains and valleys. While they initially lived in peace, they eventually began to compete with one another. This competition escalated into primitive wars fought with sticks and stones. Eventually, tribes and nations formed. On one side was the northern nation, and on the other, the southern nation. While the first wars were fought with simple weapons, over time, bright and thunderous missiles and weapons emerged. Brother fought against brother, and soon the entire planet was consumed by death and destruction. The war dragged on for ages. Countless orbits of Nibiru around the Sun passed as the destruction continued. But finally, a ceasefire was declared. Envoys came together and devised a plan to unite Nibiru. The planet would be unified under a single ruler, and the throne of Nibiru would be occupied by one person. A ruler from the north would take a spouse from the south, and a ruler from the south would take a spouse from the north, ensuring that both the north and south were united. The first king was a brave and just commander from the north. Under his leadership, peace was restored. The ruined cities were rebuilt, and the people returned to prosperity. The first city was named Agade, meaning unity. The first king was given the title En, which means celestial one. Under En's leadership, order was re-established. Governors were appointed for each region, and the lands were made suitable for farming. Canals were repaired, food was supplied, and life returned to the planet. And married a woman from the south known for her warrior spirit, and she was given the title Antu, meaning leader. King An and his wife Antu had 3 sons and 1 daughter. Their first son, Anki, grew up to be a strong and capable leader, but died at a young age and never ascended the throne. After Anki, their second son, Ip, took the throne. Ip married his younger sister's daughter, and they had a son named Anshargal. Anshargal was a leader interested in science. He calculated the time it took for the planet to orbit around the sun and called this period Ashar. Ashar was equivalent to 1 year of Nibiru's orbit around the sun. With the new reforms, everyone would adhere to this new unit of measurement and shape their lives accordingly. Anshar divided the year's cycle into 10 parts and declared 2 new festivals: the Festival of Heat during the closest period to the sun, and the Festival of Cold during the farthest period. He abolished all of the old tribal festivals and established these new celebrations as unifying elements for the people. In addition, he reformed the laws related to family structure, setting new rules regarding marriage and the rights of children. The customs and traditions of all the nations on the planet were formalized. After the Great War, the number of men had decreased, and women and children made up the majority. Because of this, Anshar declared that a man could marry more than 1 woman. However, by law, the first wife would be considered the official wife and would hold the title of First Lady. The firstborn son would inherit leadership of the family and the throne after his father. But over time, problems arose. What would happen if the firstborn son was from a concubine and the first lady later gave birth to a son? Who would be the heir, the firstborn son or the son born from the first lady? During Anshar Gal's reign, Kishar Gal was declared his first official wife. Kishar Gal was Anshar's half-sister. During his rule, one of Anshar's concubines gave birth to several children, including the first male heir. However, Kishar Gal, the first lady, insisted that her own son should be the heir to the throne. Angrily, she proclaimed, "The law of the seed must take precedence over the law of marriage. I and the king are children of the same father. My son carries the bloodline of our ancestor Anub, and therefore, he alone should inherit the throne." As a result of these debates, Anshar Gal accepted the law of the seed. From that point forward, marriage to a woman who carried the seed of the royal bloodline would be considered superior. If the king's official wife was of the seed's lineage, her children would automatically be considered the heirs, regardless of other circumstances. The council accepted this decision and established it as written law. In the later years of Anshar Gal's reign, the planet faced a great decline in agriculture, as Nibiru alternated between hot and cold periods due to its proximity to the sun. Farming was heavily affected. Scholars gathered by royal decree and discovered that the disruption in the atmosphere was the cause of these changes. The atmosphere was deteriorating because the volcanoes were not emitting enough ash, causing the atmosphere to weaken. Anshar's son took the throne as the 6th king and was named Anshari. Renowned for his wisdom, Anshari worked to solve the issues plaguing the fields and to repair the atmosphere. He studied the sun and 5 other planets, naming them An, Antu, Anshar, Kishar, and Gaga. However, with every orbit around the sun, Nibiru's atmosphere faced more problems, and the holes in it grew larger. During Anshari's rule, scholars proposed creating a shield to protect the planet. Scientists suggested two ways to fix the atmosphere. Either they would use gold, or they would reactivate the volcanoes. However, gold was very scarce on Nibiru. Debates raged over whether to build flying vessels to gather gold from other planets or to reignite the volcanoes. As Anshari struggled to make a decision, the holes in the atmosphere widened, and unrest among the people grew. Eventually, Anshari abdicated the throne to his son, and the seventh king, Duru, ascended to power. Duru violated the law of the seed by marrying a woman he loved. This woman was given the name Nibiru. However, during Duru's reign, fertility among the people declined, prosperity waned, and unrest increased. His rule was marked by great chaos, and in the end, a child whom Duru had adopted succeeded him. This child was named Lama, which means drought. During Lama's reign, discussions revolved around two options: using gold to repair the atmosphere or reactivating the volcanoes. However, Lama was too weak to make a decision. The holes in the atmosphere grew larger, the rain stopped, and the farmlands dried up. The people's unrest intensified. In the end, Prince Alalu killed Lama and seized the throne. However, there was controversy over whether Alalu was a legitimate heir. His bloodline traced back to Anshar Gal's son from a concubine, a line that had lost the throne generations ago. Alalu defended his claim to the throne before the Council of Seven, arguing that he was the true heir. The council decided to review the ancient records in detail, as Alalu's claim to the throne would cause a major disturbance within the palace. The first royal couple was An and Antu. They had 3 sons. Their firstborn, Enki, died childless while on the throne. In his place, the middle son, Anub, took the throne. Though it was expected that Anub's firstborn son would inherit the throne, the law of seed replaced the law of primogeniture. Since the firstborn son was born from a concubine, he was disinherited, and the kingdom passed to Kishargal's son. Kishargal was the king's half-sister, and, after this event, the concubine's son was never spoken of again, nor was his name mentioned in the annals. However, when Alalu heard this, he shouted, "I am descended from him." Alalu claimed that according to the law of primogeniture, the kingdom rightfully belonged to him. Skeptical counselors demanded that he take an oath of truth. Alalu swore upon the living, the dead, the past, and the future. The council recognized him as king. The elders and princes gathered, and the decision was announced. At this moment, a young man stepped forward, expressing his desire to speak about the kingdom. He argued that the law of primogeniture needed to be reconsidered. "I am neither a firstborn nor born of a queen, but I am of pure seed. The essence of our first king and lives within me. No concubine has diluted my bloodline," he proclaimed. The counselors listened to the young prince's words in astonishment. As the young prince approached, the counselors asked for his name. "My name is Anu. I carry the name of my grandfather," and he replied. The counselors opened the family records and asked Anu to explain his lineage. Anu explained, and had 3 sons. The first, Enki, ascended the throne but died without children. The second, Anub, took the throne and continued the royal line. The third son was Eniru, and I am one of his descendants, from the pure seed, untouched by concubines. The counselors exchanged surprised glances. The young prince continued, "I descend from the third son of An and Antu. My lineage is pure and comes from the seed. Though we lost the throne centuries ago, our bloodline has never been extinguished." His words had a deep impact on the counselors. These claims caused great excitement among the advisors. A group informed Alalu of the events and the prince's declaration. Alalu summoned Prince Anu to his presence. When Anu arrived, Alalu extended his hand and said, "Though we come from different branches, our bloodlines share the same ancestor. Let us live together in peace. I will sit on the throne, and you will be my successor. We shall unite our bloodlines, By marrying my daughter to your son. Anu respectfully accepted the offer, and the council recognized Anu as Alalu's successor. This decision was recorded in the royal annals, and Alalu remained on the throne. Alalu gathered all the scholars, commanders, and wise men. They assembled to make critical decisions regarding Nibiru's future. Eventually, they decided to build skyships and travel beyond the hammered bracelet to retrieve gold. However, this mission failed. All the skyships were crushed within the bracelet, unable to return. When this plan failed, the skyships were armed with weapons, and missiles were launched at the volcanoes. Massive eruptions occurred. The mountains shook, the valleys quaked, and the people rejoiced. But the expected results did not materialize. The rains did not come, the hole in the atmosphere did not close, and the people once again fell into despair. As Nibiru drew closer to the sun, it scorched. As it moved away, it froze. The people lost faith in their king. Alalu, who had ruled for 9 shars, around 32,000 years, had now lost the support of the people. Anu could no longer bear it and challenged Alalu, saying, "I demand an unarmed, bare-fisted duel. The winner shall be king." The two met in the arena, and in the end, Alalu was defeated. Anu was declared king in victory. Alalu silently fled the palace. He boarded a skyship and set course for Earth, where he knew there were vast gold riches. Meanwhile, Anu continued to rule as king on Nibiru. Thus, the first tablet comes to an end. The second tablet will tell the continuation of these events. I'm preparing the second tablet and will share it with you soon. Your subscriptions and likes are far more important than you think. Have a wonderful day, everyone.